Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Occam's Razor, a show where an arrogant millennial attempts to inform people of their ignorance without advertising too much of his own. Today, we're going to take a look at The Haunted Side, another ghost hunting YouTube series that tries its best to look more legitimate than should ever be possible for the platform they've chosen to put their content on. Ran by Patrick McQuarrie, a film school graduate and customer service representative with some sales and tech school experience, the group also consists of two of his buddies with no notable experience in anything other than being ghost hunters and extreme overactors. Together, they travel the world, well, mostly just the west coast of the United States, in search of answers to one of the deepest questions in life: are ghosts real? But sadly, they just end up asking each other, "Did you see that?" and "Did you hear that?" Most of their episodes contain an absolute treasure trove of paranormal evidence, most of which consists of little more than hearsay and conjectured sightings that unfortunately happen just off camera, only from one of the three investigators at a time. Interesting enough. At any rate, I decided on the episode that we're looking at today because of how fun it'll be to absolutely destroy every notable thing within its frames, as either staged bullshit, excitable over exaggeration, or simply a complete misunderstanding of the technology they are trying to use. It is quite clear from the descriptions of any of their videos that getting views and helping their partners sell ghost hunting gear is more important than legitimate scientific research, but that may be implying too much. Maybe they don't even know what real scientific research consists of. That's definitely a possibility as well. They are intelligent enough to use just about every single trick in the book to make the happenings in the show seem real, though. And that includes saying that they didn't see something until after the fact when they review the footage, saying the place is haunted simply because it's old and has history, using misunderstood technologies in erroneous ways to garner results that they not only want to be real but also need to be real in order to keep the view count high. And even in this episode, going as far to put a disclaimer at the beginning of the episode warning of disturbing images to come. It's all just hype, and lazy hype at that, which is really advertised quite well throughout the entirety of this episode specifically. Literally from start to finish, it is set up, shot, and edited like a lazy film school project, a found footage horror film or something like that, that has all of the production value of a Hollywood blockbuster, but none of the substance to fill in the space. Only cheesy, cliche editing, reactions to arbitrary words spoken from unreliable equipment, and slow panning shots of gargoyles and bookshelves foreshadowing the nonsense to come. I personally got a little more than a few laughs and a new project of my own after watching this the first time. It's a shit show, so, hopefully you will get some of the same inspiration I did, and if not, then maybe some of the same laughter I did. After a minute of that bullshit, unnecessary foreplay, it starts off with the three of them simply walking into a building at night. No interviews with eyewitnesses or the owner of the B&B, no way to inform the viewer of any claims of the paranormal, no cutscene giving a history of the property, no voiceover telling the viewers why all the stationary cameras are placed in the very specific spots that they are. Are they even alone in this B&B at night? I don't know, they didn't say. Is it all filmed in a single night or several nights? How long were they there? They say nothing. They give no information at all. But perhaps this is intentional to leave more room for a dumb mind to wander into its own recesses of ignorance and come out the other side in an absolute awe of this abortion of an investigation. Well, since they did do it, I guess I have to be the one to do the research. After over 2 hours of searching, I found fuck all. I found nothing outside of the basic history of the building, which was given on the Cobb B&B official website. I found absolutely nothing that would even hint that the place is haunted by the paranormal. The TripAdvisor reviews are barren of ghost stories, and the same goes for the Google review page. Save for one dude who simply says, "I heard it was haunted." I went all the way back to 2010 and found nothing that mentioned ghosts or hauntings. And other than that, I found only two other mentions of the property that were close to noteworthy. One from the Mysterious Destinations magazine, where it is listed with other curious lodgings to visit in Virginia City, with the description above the list stating, "There are ample choices, some haunted." So nothing specific to this location at all. The other was from a commission meeting in Story County, where within the minutes of the meeting, one can find that the Cobb House B&B was renewing their business license in 2017. This was shortly after the ownership changed hands. I found this interesting because there are only a couple of reasons to sell a business after it's been open for so long. Either the owners are retiring or you want off the boat before it completely sinks, you know what I'm saying? Additionally, it stands to suggest, if it is the latter, that possibly the so-called claims of this place being haunted were in fact spread by the new owners themselves as an initial attempt to turn over a new leaf for the business. They are, after all, in the center of some of the most famous haunted locations in the western United States, most of them right in the same area. For example, the Old Washoe Club, the Gold Hill Hotel, the Silver Hotel, the Mackey Museum, and the Piper's Opera Hall, each of which has been visited multiple times by much more famous paranormal investigation groups than this one. Maybe it's an example of sticking with your pay grade? You get what you pay for with this group, let me just say that. Please keep in mind throughout this entire video, there is nothing to suggest that this place is even a haunted location. We just have to go off what the creators of the show say, their word alone, for whatever that's fucking worth. So pretty much immediately they begin experiencing some crazy shit. How convenient. They of course have an Ovilus and an SLS or an Xbox Kinect camera, which both immediately go off the second they enter the front door. Let's talk about these delightful little plastic and metal miracles ghost hunters like to use as equipment first. Before I even learned just how the Kinect SLS camera works, I always wondered if these astute scientific investigators ever took this camera to a non-haunted location to gather some base readings maybe and get an understanding of the frequency of potential like false positives. But then I realized that the entire basis for showing that these devices work is based upon a massive pile of false positives that bet on the ignorance of the user and the viewer alike. So I brushed that logical thought process aside to try and get into the mind of a ghost hunter. Once I awoke from that nightmarish coma, I did some research. So, basically, in the SLS camera, there's an array of infrared lights placed in a specific location facing away from the camera itself. This is the hardware aspect. It needs to be placed and remain stationary and facing an open area with which the lights can shine and measure the distances needed to make the guesses it does later. Yes, it guesses. The software in it has two components. The recognition programming with the photographic data of literally thousands of human bodies of all shapes and sizes in just as many different sized rooms, all without furniture. So here we are right out of the gate. The very way these ghost hunters utilize the SLS is set up for failure because it's supposed to remain still the entire time you're using it. It's not programmed to be moved around. But it gets even worse, or better, depending on how you look at it. This database of photographs is what the second software part uses as a reference grid. After taking the data from the IR light array, it bounces it off the database and then makes guesses as to where the different joint and body parts of the human body are. It does this 30 times each second for minutes upon minutes before displaying any actual results. Now, this database only has a library of what is a human, of what it thinks is a human, and has absolutely no filter or backing program against what is not a human. So fucking anything for even just a split second that resembles a part of a human can turn into an entire human. The algorithm fills in the blanks and transfers the predicted human just as it's programmed to do. So basically, over time, while moving, which it isn't programmed to recognize or do, the device will gather bad information well outside its parameters of programming and then guesses what the rest of the body is doing based on those severely corrupted and misleading points of data. Also, because of its predictive manner, if the camera isn't stationary and there is a human in the shot, it will miscalculate the positioning of that human and will have a phantom stick figure in the shot. And finally, and this is the straw that really fucks up the camel's back, so listen carefully. For the Kinect's technology to ever even display these stick figures that these ghost hunters use as evidence, the IR light has to bounce off something. So unless you see a ghost in the footage or something to obstruct the light, the infrared light to bounce off of, the Kinect is just bouncing the light off whatever is directly behind the stick figure. I mean, there are examples of people shining IR lights on a fucking vacuum and it's showing a stick figure on the vacuum. I mean, it's just, you can literally shine an IR light and tell this thing where to put a skeletal figure, a ghost figure, which, you know, adds a layer of discredit to any of these investigations because they could just very easily have a light, an IR light shining anywhere and make a skeleton show up wherever the fuck they want. Or the other equipment that they're using that uses infrared could accidentally send off false positives all over the fucking place. So, again, For it to be from a ghost, the camera, which only sees infrared, would have to show what the lights are bouncing off of, aka the spirit. You never see this in any of the footage, so what can we conclude? Ghost hunters are either just too dumb and or lazy to research their own equipment, or they knowingly deceive their audience for shock value. What do you think? I think it's hard to sell a ghost hunting show and its products if there aren't any ghosts. Next up in the arsenal is the Ovulus, a Frankenstein-esque mixture of several scientific and working technologies that ghost hunters try to use all together simultaneously with zero reference point data to communicate with the dead. Yup, the Ovulus takes readings from everything from EMF and magnetic field fluctuations, temperatures, subaudible radio frequencies, then bounces them off an arbitrary database of guesses and spits out words from a tiny vocabulary of predetermined uselessness. Not only do the makers of this monstrosity get to pick and choose the very words for the ghosts to use, but they also get to determine what words the ghosts mean to use based on the readings from the device itself. Weird, huh? I thought so too, and here's why it's fucking dumb. Without having a literal conversation with a ghost and having the ghost tell the programmers the reference information and manipulations, the device is just spitting out words as it feels like it, based on our programmers' guesses, nothing more. For example, in order for the Ovulus to know that a certain reading that it receives from all of its different devices means word X or word Y, a spirit or a ghost would have to have previously informed the people who are programming it and told them, okay, when I manipulate this certain frequency and this temperature fluctuation changes this much, it means word X. But when I shift this magnetic field here this much and this temperature here by this much, it means word Y, and so on and so forth. This, my friends, is a lesson in circular reasoning or circular logic. They're starting their research from a point of conclusion. They're assuming they know what the fuck the spirit means when it supposedly manipulates these readings. It's just absolutely fucking dumb. You can't use a device that attempts to research an unknown phenomenon when a definition of that phenomenon is first required to even build the device. This is why you can never get it to repeat itself, even if you perfectly attempt to duplicate the environmental changes. And conversely, the same reason why it seems to use the same words more frequently in certain locations. For fuck's sake, it only has a 2,000 word vocabulary and in 2 languages. The English language alone has 124,000 words, and this isn't including the 47,000 words that are considered obsolete by modern dictionaries. And again, these 2,000 words were handpicked by the programmers. Honestly, you need to look no further than the Ovulus's owner manual to discover just how much of a fraud this fucking thing is. I shared a link in the description for those of you who share my level of curiosity, but if you read it, pay close attention to the egregious number of disclaimers strategically placed throughout its entirety. Moving right along now, we're just going to skip to some what I found to be notable points in the investigation, but without forgetting anything else we have discussed thus far, okay?
Cold right here.
I know, and it was
Okay, don't do this in an investigation. Don't scream out you feel something without putting a camera on it. Have a thermometer in your hand, have a reader of some sort in your hand, and if you feel like it's fucking cold somewhere, show that thermometer, show that it's cold, and show it on camera. Do not do this fucking bullshit. This entire fucking episode of theirs is nothing but more bullshit like this over and over and over again. Them claiming things that happen and have no evidence to back it up other than their fucking word of mouth.
It sounded like a gathering. It sounded like a bunch of people. Like if there was like a party going on out in the...
Do they know that there isn't a party going on somewhere else? Okay, so if it sounds like there's a bunch of people talking, it probably is a bunch of people talking. I mean, you saw the opening scenes of this episode, or it's a drone shot above this little mansion, this little cob house, and no matter where they're standing, anywhere in this house, they're probably never more than 30 feet away from the other houses around them. They don't say that there's nobody in this house on the night, or in this B&B on the night they're investigating, and they don't say that there's nobody in any of the other houses around this one, which are very, very close in proximity. Anytime they say they hear voices, it's immediately fucking written off as something else, at least to a logical thinker.
Do you have bad chills right now?
Yeah, it's freezing right here too.
Yeah.
Again, Where's the thermometer? Either your investigations are intentionally planned this way, or you're just so dumb that it works out this fucking way, so that the dumbest fucking people in the world watch this and go, oh my god, it's cold, there must be a ghost.
This room is famously known as like a room for like ladies of the night. It's even got its own like private entrance where people would sneak into and out of, like for discretion.
Do you see the look on this guy's face after he said that? Like, he doesn't even believe the bullshit his buddy's spilling out. Watch this.
Entrance where people would sneak into and out of, like for discretion.
Huh? So
Yeah,
stupid.
that's
That motherfucker made that shit up on the spot, I bet. And if he didn't, show me where you talked to somebody that gave you that information. Show me where you found that information. Again, you're forcing the viewer to go off your word of mouth. This is the most illegitimate investigation I've ever seen in my fucking life.
It just felt like there was somebody standing right here.
What does that even mean, like? It feels like there's somebody standing there? That's just paranoia. And it sounds like there's some sort of air conditioning or heater or fan on back there. And I don't know if you guys have heard about the fear frequencies, but anything below 20 hertz is not audible to the human ear, but you know, like around 19 hertz can actually vibrate the human eyeball and make you hallucinate things and make you see things, and other lower than the 20 hertz frequencies can make you feel anxious, make you sweat, make you feel like you're being watched, make you very paranoid, give you the fucking chills that they're feeling. I mean, all these different things that can come from the vibrations or from fans or from rotating objects or from anything that's in this building can give them this effect that they don't even realize they're having.
It's cold right here too.
Are you sure about that? Where's the fucking thermometer?
Yeah.
I'm getting really salty in this episode, aren't I?
Just said mommy.
It just said mommy.
Mommy?
Even they're like, that's weird. Yeah, because anytime it says something like with the whole prostitution thing earlier, anytime the Ovulus 3 says something that fits their narrative, they go, oh my God, listen to that. Did you hear that? But then when it says something like mommy, they just go, oh, that's weird, and then move on from it because it doesn't fit their narrative. And right here, this is fucking absolutely hilarious. He's got the Kinect camera on this dude that's sitting on the bed, and he says, it's not even mapping you. Okay, so what the fuck makes you think that it can map a goddamn ghost if it won't even map a human being while you're holding it and standing around? Okay, this part right here, guy with the Adidas and the hoodie here on the left-hand side says that something hits him in the jaw and you can hear something falling to the ground. In a minute, they find out it was a rock. I don't see anything even fall. If it did, it fell on the other side of him from the camera view. You can obviously hear it hit the ground. It sounds like a rock or something, which it turns out to be, yes, a rock. But what's really funny to me, after he gets hit in the jaw with this rock that's flew out of nowhere, the Ovulus says dime, and they all freak out and go dime, and then they find a rock on the ground and decide it wasn't a dime. So that just shows how quickly they are to come to a conclusion about something and then very quickly just dismiss it when it gets disproven. They relay during the conversation while they're talking about what just happened. They say, well, this happens to you. This happened again. And I guess in the last investigation, I haven't wasted my time watching that one, but the same fucking thing happened to the same guy. Unbelievable claims require unbelievable evidence. Something hits the ground. He says it hit his jaw, but I didn't see that anywhere. I think it was all faked, and it's because they give it away by admitting that this has happened before on the very previous investigation to the same guy in the same way, just on the back of the neck before. So is this really Spirit singling out this poor ghost hunter to pick on? Or is this dude just very practiced in the art of staging this very specific scenario where a rock or something small hits him around the face? It's the latter, and I don't find it to be coincidence at all that throughout the rest of the night, many more tiny and unseeable things are seemingly thrown around the group, but never actually seen or discovered by anybody. Between the timestamp of 12:30 and about 14 minutes, they hear a bird outside, think it's a ghost. Again, they hear voices coming from outside. They think it's coming from inside. They make so many goddamn outrageous claims without any footage to back them up. Why even keep it in the show? I mean, it's obvious that it's because people actually buy into this shit and it gets them views. Okay, so this is absolutely fucking hilarious. His name's Patrick, and the Ovulus says a word that sounds like Patrick.
It sounded like it said it though. Now it said things, but not said it.
So now they're implying that they think the ghost is trying to say one word, but it can only make the obvious say a word that's close to it. That's what they're trying to imply here. And again, a perfect example of the circular logic where they are coming up with a conclusion before they have any evidence to go towards that conclusion. I had to include this in because it's so perfectly wraps up in a nice, neat little 30-second package how fucking dumb they are. There's a part in here where they say they hear a voice. I've slowed it down and listened to it. It's obviously just the fucking camera guy mumbling, and they thought it wasn't. It's pretty goddamn obvious in the audio playback.
Footsteps above us.
A minute ago. Breaths over here. Like
Footsteps above
a
us.
minute ago.
It's the camera guy mumbling incoherent bullshit to himself, and they pawn it off as a disembodied voice. But I mean, you can hear it. It's right up next to the fucking mic. I mean, if that was legitimately a disembodied voice of a ghost, then the camera guy would have been the one fucking freaking out, not the other guy. It doesn't make any sense. It's the fucking camera guy. And that beautiful piece of evidence is followed up by them playing back the digital voice recorder here, and there is a very, very, very faint and distorted sound that could be a goddamn bird, could be an air conditioning somewhere turning on. It could be a female from an adjacent building, but again, it is so faint that it could be literally fucking anything. That time I definitely did hear a voice, and it was reverberating like it came from an adjacent building, like it came through 2 panes of glass or 3 panes of glass. That sounds exactly like what a female voice sounds like if it comes from either across the hall or behind 3 fucking walls. There's probably people in the adjacent buildings, and that's what that is. It's not a goddamn ghost. Pretty coincidental that as they are all heading downstairs, the one in the back of the line sees something that nobody else could have, and the camera didn't catch it. You know, what a shame, or sham. What a sham. Or both, whatever. You can start to recognize how they feed off each other's subtle cues. You know, something small happens here, then something a little bit more intense happens here, and then more and more things happen and bounce from one person to the next and escalate very, very subtly. Okay, so at this point, I've showed you how much they fucking cry wolf and have nothing to back any of their claims up with. So here they are, they go upstairs, and immediately when they go up there, all 3 of them go ape shit about this hallway with bookshelves, almost as if it's planned that this hallway with the bookshelves is going to be an area of intense activity. It doesn't look like any those bookshelves are part of the wall, and as you can see here, as this guy is walking down the center of them, he says that he thinks that the bookshelves are moving, which is probably again just the old house and the floorboards bowing and the bookshelves actually moving from him just walking down the hallway. You know, they don't see the bookshelves move at all when they're standing at the ends of the hallway. It's only when they're walking down the center of it, which is pretty obvious why. Right here, one of them bumps into it with his leg and it moves and he freaks out. See the ladder move right there. I mean, it's either him bumping the near side of the base of the ladder, or again, it's a floorboard that bowed under his pressure and made the ladder move a little bit. Pretty fucking silly for them to again jump to a conclusion that it's a ghost. Okay, now you have this fucking Einstein motherfucker here who decides to set the ladder up and lean it up against the bookshelf at that angle to where it's barely holding itself up. And he somehow thinks that that's a good idea and that if it falls now, it somehow makes it more legitimate that it was a ghost, instead of doing what in reality it actually does, is make it far more less legitimate. It makes it so much easier for that fucking ladder to fall over, which, gee, imagine that, it does later on, that it completely ruins any validity that it could have had. And because he is dumb enough to do something like this, anything else that has happened from this individual in the investigation prior to this point in time also loses its validity, because he's a fucking idiot.
And once I review this footage, realize we captured something unbelievable.
Yeah, he is absolutely right. It is unbelievable. Next, they have video footage of a book halfway falling off of a shelf. But I tell you what, they really fucked up with this one, because I've got the ears of a goddamn basset hound. You can hear why this book falls out. Here, I'll let you take a look. you can hear a click and then a shh. There is some sort of mechanism back behind there that is pushing that book almost entirely off the shelf. And it later falls here in a minute. Listen. It's so goddamn fucking fake. They know it's fucking faked. So here they are coming back upstairs after they flipped the switch that knocked more books off, but they didn't think that the footage of the second two books falling off was legitimate enough because they just never show it. As you can see, there are 3 books on the floor, and they only show the footage of one of them falling off. This is one of the high points of their investigation when that ladder that is barely standing up decides to fall over. I don't think that it's any coincidence that it falls over shortly after he begins to walk down the hallway and then turns around. Like I said earlier, I bet you those floorboards beneath that rug, and I guarantee that's why the rug is there, is hiding those nappy old fucking floorboards. I bet you that the second he stepped there, the boards warped and the floor underneath the ladder shifted and the ladder fell. Or, as you can see, there is a long, thin rug underneath the entire thing. He very easily, because it's not shown in the shot, he very easily, with his foot, could have slid the base of the rug and made that thing fall. And we already know that these 3 are incredibly good actors, over actors in my opinion. And there is a 0% chance that this is a fucking ghost. Additionally, why did they go upstairs to remove a stationary camera? That's what he said, that they went back upstairs to grab the other camera. The investigation wasn't done yet. They stay another couple hours, but decide to go upstairs and remove this camera from one of the most active spots that they've had so far to move it downstairs to do this sensory deprivation bit. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. And again, here we are, 3 books on the ground. Show me the footage. Where is the footage of the other 2 falling to the ground? Here's a very serious question. Why wouldn't you show the footage? Why would you just show that there's 3 books on the ground? Know that those 3 books all fell off the shelf, obviously, because you didn't do it, and then not show the footage of each different book falling off the shelf, only show the footage of one. Why would you do that? Here they're going to start to try and utilize what's called sensory deprivation or perceptual isolation. So doing that in this way does very little to open the brain up for more inputs and help you see or perceive or hear other things. It simply leaves more guesswork for the brain, honestly. It leaves more blank spots for it to fill in and more room for false positives in your own subjective mind. He doesn't meditate. He doesn't spend any time trying to focus on any one of his senses. He just puts on a fucking blindfold and some shitty fucking headphones and listens to a spirit box talk. And if you don't know what a spirit box is, it's a little device that randomly scans through FM and AM radios for a split second each, and then supposedly a ghost or spirit is able to speak through that randomized reading. It's all bullshit, and again, they hear what they want to hear. It means fucking nothing. The shitty headphones that look like he bought them from a gas station, I think this is obviously intentional so he can still hear the cues given by the other team members. If you truly wanted to hear only the spirit box and only what the spirit box was saying, then you would use noise canceling headphones. You know, it doesn't make sense to me that they can afford a $400 Ovilus when they can't afford a simple pair of noise cancellation headphones. It's very, very obvious that this is intentional and faked. You guys need to try harder. Additionally, we have no recording of the spirit box, so we are simply left with, again, trusting what he says he hears to be the truth. Sorry, but after everything I've witnessed up to this point, believing anything any one of these soy boy cucks says, it's just not possible for me. I'm not going to do it. Show me the evidence. Well, here we are at the end, and I think it's a quite fitting end if you think about it. How can these guys and their investigation have a real climactic end to their epic here if everything they've gone through already was so amazing? Well, the only way to do that is to have a veritable orgy of paranormal bullshit. All these different things have to happen at once to really crescendo everything into this fucking amazing ending to this bullshit show of theirs. Sorry, but I have to do my thing here and easily explain away any bullshit legitimacy this sequence of events tries to have. So If you're a true diehard believer and you actually made it this far into the video, please stick around for this. You might learn something.
Oh,
Did you just see that?
that's Patrick, right? That's Patrick, right?
I just watched it come down the
Did you
stairs,
see
man.
that?
I just watched it.
Okay, so simultaneously, obviously because this is all real, the guy on the stairs freaks out, thinks something is touching his behind him and to the left, and keeps saying over and over again, "Is that Patrick? Is it Patrick?" Because again, he supposedly can't hear anything because of all the noise coming into his shitty headphones, and he can only hear the noise coming from those shitty headphones, even though they barely cover his ears at all. So he acts like he doesn't know that both of his buddies are right in front of him, but the thing is, he would have to. If you look and see where he is sitting on the stairs, it would be absolutely impossible for anybody to walk up behind him at some point in time and then walk back without him fucking knowing. He knows it's not his buddy Patrick. He just acts it very, very well. And right on cue to where these guys start saying, "Oh, I just saw something. I saw a shadow figure walking down the stairs." But again, not on any of the 3 cameras they actually have pointing at this point in time, pointing in this direction at this point in time. From basically 42 minutes to the end, none of this can be used as evidence. Seriously, why did they even try? Their equipment starts to die. They have 2 cameras die, but they never show that the batteries were at some point in time full. They never show how long those cameras were or were not in use. And besides that, they could have easily been switched off by either of the 2 dudes that were out of camera sight. It's not evidence for anything at all. Sorry, not sorry. He later switches it back on himself. It's pretty conspicuous. You can hear him flip the fucking switch, and then he goes, "Oh, it just turned back on." In a moment here, all hell breaks loose with the 2 cameras turning off, and the 2 guys that aren't sitting on the stairs say that they see a shadow in this back corner, which I'm going to show you the clip right now that I have slowed down. As you can see, it's his overexcited brain and his own fucking arm that caused the moving shadow down the hall. Or alternatively, it could be a buddy of theirs or any other human being on the other side of the hallway creating the shadows for them. I don't think that it is the devil's son. I don't think it is a demon, and I don't think it's a ghost. It's more than likely his shadow or the shadow of another person back there, or a puppeteer. So, what have we learned today? If you want to sell ghost hunting equipment, all you have to do is make it look like the shit works, even if it fucking doesn't.